Up to this point, we've talked about truth, how the mind processes information, and why people lie to themselves without realizing it. Now we need to talk about the force that ties all of that together: comfort. Comfort isn't happiness, it isn't peace, it isn't fulfillment. Comfort is simply the absence of discomfort, and the brain values it more than most people think. At a basic level, your mind is always trying to keep things stable. It wants today to feel manageable. It wants things to stay familiar. It wants to avoid unnecessary friction. That means the brain isn't constantly asking, "What's true?" It's asking, "What keeps things from getting uncomfortable right now?" This is why clarity is so rare. Because clarity usually creates discomfort before it creates improvement. Most people don't fail because they don't try. They fail because they move before they see clearly, and motion without clarity just creates more noise. When the truth would require a difficult decision, a change in behavior, or an honest look at yourself, the brain often steps in. It doesn't do this loudly. It doesn't announce itself. It does it quietly. It delays. It softens the edges. It offers explanations that feel reasonable enough to keep things the same. That's not a personal weakness. It's how the system works. The brain is designed to conserve energy and avoid risk. From its perspective, discomfort often feels like danger, even when that discomfort is just mental or emotional. So when clarity threatens comfort, the mind looks for ways to reduce tension rather than resolve it. This is why people can understand something clearly and still not act on it. Someone might know a habit is unhealthy. They might know a relationship isn't working. They might know they're avoiding something important. But knowing doesn't automatically lead to change, because acting would disrupt comfort. This is where people confuse motion with progress. They stay busy, they stay active, they try new things. But nothing actually shifts, because the underlying picture hasn't changed. Comfort doesn't usually show up as laziness. It shows up as patience, as tolerance, as being realistic. It sounds like, "Now isn't the right time," or "It's not that bad," or "This is just how things are." These explanations aren't random. They serve a purpose. They stabilize things. Clarity does the opposite. Clarity creates tension. It puts pressure between what is happening and what needs to change. And pressure demands a response. That's why clarity often feels uncomfortable. It removes the option to keep drifting. Most people mistake that discomfort for stress or negativity, so they avoid it. They distract themselves. They stay busy. They return to familiar routines and familiar thinking because familiarity feels productive. But familiarity isn't forward movement, it's just repetition. This is why familiar patterns are so powerful. Even when they're limiting, even when they're unproductive, even when they quietly lead nowhere. Comfort keeps people stuck, not by force, but by persuasion. You can see this in everyday life. People say they want change, but structure their lives to avoid it. They consume information that confirms what they already believe. They surround themselves with people who normalize the same habits. They treat resistance as a sign to stop instead of a signal to look closer. Clarity would challenge those patterns. Comfort protects them. This becomes especially obvious when truth touches identity. If seeing something clearly would mean accepting responsibility, then comfort pushes back. The mind starts looking for reasons the truth doesn't apply here, or now, or to you. That resistance often sounds like nuance or careful thinking, but there's a difference between thinking carefully and thinking defensively. Thinking carefully looks for accuracy. Thinking defensively looks for relief. Comfort thrives when things stay vague. Clarity requires precision, and precision removes hiding places. None of this means comfort is bad. Comfort helps you recover. It helps you stabilize. It helps you function day to day. The problem starts when comfort becomes the decision maker. When comfort decides what you're willing to look at, what you're willing to question, and what you're willing to tolerate, clarity never gets a chance. This is where most people unknowingly draw a line. They're willing to think about ideas, but not habits. Willing to discuss truth, but not consequences. Willing to reflect, but only as long as nothing has to change. That's not because they're incapable, it's because clarity has a cost. Here's the key point. If clarity were comfortable, everyone would already have it. So, discomfort isn't a sign that something is wrong. Often, it's a sign that something important is becoming visible. Real change doesn't start with effort. It starts when the picture becomes clear enough that effort finally makes sense. The action here isn't to force yourself forward. It's to stop treating discomfort as a warning and start treating it as information. When you feel the urge to explain something away, notice it. When you feel resistance to a clear observation, pause. When you feel yourself defaulting to familiar reasoning, pay attention. Those moments are where clarity tries to enter and where comfort pushes back. This lesson isn't asking you to live in discomfort. It's asking you to stop letting comfort decide what you're willing to see. Because clarity doesn't require force, it requires tolerance for temporary unease. And once you can tolerate that, truth stops feeling threatening and starts becoming useful. In the next lesson, we'll move from understanding why clarity is avoided to learning how to observe yourself accurately. Not by overthinking, but by paying attention to what actually happens. That's where direction begins.